You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Brian Kelly got some good news on Monday. We're looking at this LSU football program right now after a month of bad news, 3 consecutive losses, losing Bryce Underwood for the class of 2025, all that stuff. Well, you get the win over Vanderbilt over the weekend, and then you got a recruiting win on Monday. So Zack Weeks, yes, of the Georgia Weekses, Zack Weeks committed to LSU on Monday. Now, he's a 2026 linebacker, but he also announced he's reclassifying to the class of 2025, meaning he will sign with LSU this year and play for the class of and play in the 2025 season. So he'll have an opportunity to play with his 2 older brothers. He is a good prospect. This is a guy who, if you look at his On3 profile, again, this is the 2026 profile, so he hasn't been graded out yet for the class of 2025 and where he would fit. But for 2026, he is a composite 4-star linebacker, the number 23 linebacker in the country, a top 300 overall player, 6'2", 200 pounds, had offers from Ohio State, Tennessee, North Carolina. I mean, big-time programs were in on Zack Weeks, but Florida. But this was an opportunity to play with his older brothers, and now you can also understand, we can all understand a little more about why there was this much sort of a push for West Weeks to play another season in Baton Rouge. If you haven't been following along, West Weeks battled injury. He had played in 3 games, and although he was dressed and healthy and has been dressed and healthy really since the A&M game, and even Arkansas, he hadn't played. Well, Saturday, because he played 3 games, remember you can play 4 and maintain your redshirt year. Well, Saturday, he played against Vanderbilt, which means that's his 4th game. If West Weeks were to play another game this year, if he were to play against Oklahoma, he would lose that last year of eligibility. So do not expect him to play this Saturday against Oklahoma, and that would mean West Weeks, Whit Weeks, and Zack Weeks would all be on the same LSU team for 1 season anyway together. I don't know that that's ever happened. There have obviously been brothers that have played together at LSU on the same team. I don't know that we've ever seen 3 on the same team. Maybe someone who's more historically connected could tell me if they have an answer to that question. But I don't know that we've ever seen 3 at the same time. There's obviously been like 3 Jefferson brothers that have played. Jordan and Justin and Ricky all played, but not all together. So this would be, I think, a first in LSU history, unless if someone could correct me. But I think maybe even more importantly is looking at the linebacker room as a whole and how it goes forward. Because now you know you'll have West Weeks, Whit Weeks, and Zack Weeks. Although what role Zack Weeks may be able to play as a freshman is a little indefinite. I think it might be hard to expect him to play a contributing role. But look at the rest of the room. You know you're losing Greg Penn to eligibility. But the more I ask around, the more it sounds like Harold Perkins might be leaning toward returning in 2025. As a matter of fact, Brian Kelly was asked for an update on Harold Perkins, on his recovery, and on his future. Here's what Kelly said on Monday.
He's doing really well in his recovery. Talking to Owen Stanley, our athletic trainer, he's been in the building quite a bit. Now that he's past the early stages of the repair, now it's about hard work. I don't know that he's made that final decision. I know he's weighing the options, and clearly we would love to have him back, but we know that, those decisions are not easy. We'll support him in whatever he decides and provide him all the resources necessary to make the best decision for him and his family.
So maybe Harold Perkins might come back. There would certainly be an NIL component of that. And I know where a lot of LSU fans felt early in this season. My contention is that was more about this staff learning these players and where they were going to fit in that first month, you are better with an athletic freak that can run sideline to sideline in Harold Perkins. I don't want him playing off the ball. I'm with you on that. I was the one pounding the table back in spring when they were going to try that experiment again, saying, I've seen this. I don't want to see it again. But I do want that guy on my defense if you can get him back in an outside linebacker role. Whit, West, potentially Harold Perkins, Devon Keys, who, if you missed it, played 46 of the 48 defensive snaps on Saturday. It's 2 games in a row where you've seen his role dramatically increase. As a matter of fact, I asked Brian Kelly on Monday about this was the lowest amount of snaps Greg Penn had played this year. So West Weeks got over 20 snaps. Devon Keys played over 40 snaps. Penn had just 19. I asked him, was it injury? Was it scheme, that opponent? What gives with the linebacker room? And here was the answer.
We just wanted to take some of the snaps off of Greg. You know, West is somebody that had been banged up, Matt, most of the year. He had not been 100%, and we wanted to get him in this week, in particular against a team that is a downhill running football team. It just matched who he was. So nothing that Greg did. He's had an incredible season for us. Devon Keys is played the last 2 games at the Sam linebacker position. We've chosen not to go with the star because of the nature of the teams that we're playing, and that could be the case again this weekend.
Absolutely. You're going to face Jackson Arnold in Oklahoma, heavy downhill running team. You probably want to go more traditional 4-3, some bulk, some girth in that defensive front 7. You're going to go without the star position, and you're going to play more traditional 4-3. It makes a lot of sense. Speaking of which, Devon Keys, Brian Kelly talked about what they like about him.
We think Devon is very, very good in space and awareness. He is a very good spot dropper. He's not a guy that's going to play man-to-man on the number 2 receiver, but he's really good in space. So we just felt like this was the best matchup to give us that kind of gap integrity of bringing him back in on run fits.
I know we're talking about Zack Weeks committing to LSU, and that's exciting for the future. When you look at Devon Keys, Xavier Atkins, who's played a good bit this year. You've got Singleton as well as part of this class. You're bringing in as a freshman in 2024. When you look ahead to 2025, they've been very heavy on that linebacker class for 2025. And now you add Zack Weeks to that. You got Keelan Moses in that room as well. And you got one of the top linebackers in the country for 2025 committed as well in LSU's 2025 class. Like, you've gone heavy at that position, and rightfully so. Jaden Breakers, who it was the name I was thinking of. Jaden Breaker, who's a 4-star out of Georgia, who's committed for this class already. Like, one of the things we consistently talk about with LSU's defense and how it's going to improve is you've got to get players. You've got to get the roster looking like it has in the past. And this is a good start. Getting some of these guys back, continuing to recruit good players, and then the other piece of that is going to be the transfer portal. And I've told you before, LSU is going to be aggressive in this first portal window. What I shared with you last week, and I'm not going to tell you, I'm not comfortable saying numbers, although I'm very confident I know the numbers. I would just rather not put it out there because I think that would probably put LSU at a disadvantage. But what I'm comfortable in telling you is that LSU in 2025 is going to spend more than double on the 2025 roster than it did on the 2024 roster. And a lot of that is going to be on new players, because most of the guys on this year's roster that are the highest earners are guys that are going to be, you're probably not back. So, I mean, think about a guy like Will Campbell, for example. Emory Jones could certainly return. Harold Perkins could certainly return. But it's not going to preclude you from going out and adding in the freshman class and in the portal, which you have to do, and they're prepared to do it. Got to get the talent back up. Future players like getting Zack Weeks in the class is a big part of that, but also making sure you retain your current roster and you're very aggressive in the portal, which I think they're going to be. So, big get for LSU. And a cool thing with the 3 Weeks brothers all playing together. By the way, hat tip Hunt Palmer, who's listening. Shout out Hunt. Apparently, it's the not-too-distant past that LSU had 3 brothers all on the same team. Brandon Taylor, Jiron Taylor, and Curtis Taylor all played on the same team in 2008. So, not that long ago. Of course, Brandon was a young pup on that team. Curtis was the veteran who was part of the 2007 National Championship team. And Jiron was a receiver, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure Jiron Taylor played receiver for LSU. But 2008 was the last time you had 3 brothers all on the same team. I'll take Hunt's word for it. He should know. He does radio on the LSU Sports Radio Network with Brandon Taylor. So I'm guessing they've talked about that a time or two. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.